Gary, what a day yesterday. The royal wedding followed by a win for Leinster. You're just coming back down to earth.
Yeah, I was at the match. It was a great match. A lovely environment, lovely afternoon, nice weather, and everyone turned up in their colours. It never ceases to amaze me, the Munster supporters, how fervent they are, how dedicated they are, and how early they turn up, which is a credit to them. When you're in the stands, you never see Munster supporters coming into the stand late. Never. You just don't.
I was there with a crew of Munster supporters, and we were rushing, and I was like, it's not started till 3:15, and we were rushing at like 2:15 to the RDS. Yeah.
It was a great game. As a friend of mine tweeted me after the match, Joe, he said Simon Zebo, Leinster's best player in the first half and Munster's best player in the second half. And a little bit unfair, but you know where he was coming from. In the first half, Leinster just seemed to be, they certainly started the stronger, and then James Lowe just wanted to get his hands on the ball and just wanted to run at anyone that was in front of him. And Simon Zebo just happened to be that man twice. Yeah. And then a magical offload to Jack Conan, who's pictured on the front of the Sunday Independent Sports Supplement, going over for that try. And great to see him playing well yesterday. I thought that I couldn't relax at the match. It was tense, nervous, and then when Zebo got the ball every time in the second half, just made his way to try and get to Keith Earls. There's something magical about that. He'll certainly be very much missed by the Munster team next year. They don't appear to have anyone coming in to replace that little spark that is now going to be missing. But roll on next Saturday now. And I wouldn't be overly confident. Next Saturday is a big day now for me, between the Pro 14 final and then the European Cup final. So I think I might just stay in a room somewhere. It's going to be nerve-wracking.
Be dictated a lot by next Saturday.
Yeah.
It's all. I mean, the coverage of the rugby is right across the papers. The headline on the Neil Francis article is "Smarter outfit get result they deserved in spite of some mystifying decisions," and he was saying that the key for him almost is the discipline as much as anything. You can never underestimate the power of simplicity. Leinster won this game because their discipline made the difference. They only conceded 6 penalties to Munster's 14. A penalty count of that standing normally demands a steward's inquiry, but Munster were very loose in that department, almost as loose as their passing. And that was the difference. And generally, what Fran was saying about Munster is they're now 8 seasons without any silverware. He says they still have purpose and drive, and they've rediscovered some of their personality. But yesterday, despite only being 1 point away, showed that they have no intuition, and they are not smart enough, particularly when opportunity presents. They can fool themselves by saying that if 2 or 3 of a dozen very loose passes had gone to hand, they might have won this game. At this level, their skills are not good enough, particularly their passing skills. Their lines of running are copied from teams like Leinster, Scarlets, Glasgow, who know how to fix defences and who know naturally how to create space. So he wasn't as worried as you, I don't think.
Well, I think Stuart Barnes sums it up in 2 words: ferocious mediocrity, is how he kind of describes how Leinster were actually reduced to Munster's levels of ferocious mediocrity, and that was my sense yesterday as well. I felt like Munster didn't actually have an overall tactical grand plan. They had kind of diverse players to go out and enjoy themselves and do their best and do what they do well. So I think Simon Zebo was trying too hard almost to have a moment, to have a big goodbye Munster moment, and that's probably why it was so disparate sometimes in how he was playing. Obviously against James Lowe it was going to be a difficult task all day, but that was my feeling. And so actually I was nodding away as I was reading Neil Francis today, which doesn't happen very often for me. But
at this level their skills are not good enough.
Yeah, and they don't have a number 10. They don't have a good enough number 10 at the moment.
Yeah, that's been an issue.
And it was one of the things I was talking about yesterday, and I started to look it up because I was like, why isn't Carbery being talked about as an option for Munster? And I look back, and actually Ronan O'Gara has said it a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. That makes sense. If I'm the IRFU, if I have power over that decision making, Ian Keatley's about 30, 31 now. Send Carbery down to Munster. He's playing with Murray then. that makes way more sense than sending him up to Ulster, where he's not going to be playing at a level that Joe Schmidt wants him to be playing at out half.
Yeah, they have a Champions Cup playoff today as well.
Yeah.
It's even no guarantee they'll have proper European rugby.
And he needs to have European Cup rugby at out half.
Yeah, Gary Bristling over there is thinking, we're not sending him anywhere.
But if you're the IRFU and you're taking the bigger picture, isn't that better for Ireland?
Sure.
Nope.
Too teeth.
I would disagree with Neil on the basic skills level. I think that Munster showed some good skills. Certainly, Conor Murray can land a kick on a twopence. He's just so accurate with that. Peter O'Mahony is all over every breakdown and spoiling ball that's coming back, slowing the ball for Leinster. They're skills in and of themselves. The last forced pass from inside centre out onto the wing perhaps went forward a few times yesterday, often went into touch. And then there was one episode yesterday where Gary Ringrose absolutely hammered into Simon Zebo as Simon Zebo was covering a kick. But when you look at it on the screen, Zebo was actually... Gary Ringrose was actually screened by 3 Munster players in front of him, and all of a sudden just launched himself through the air at Zebo. But whatever about it, you're right. There has to be competitive elements between local teams. There has to be that kind of grudge that you can get in the RDS yesterday. And it's still there between Leinster and Munster, albeit that Leinster had a lot of changes from the European Champions Cup final. And I just think Leinster are stuttering across the finishing line now. They peaked maybe a month ago, and now they're tired and exhausted, and teams have their numbers, and they know how to play them and what to watch out for. And that's what worries me about next week.
Well, that's Stuart Barnes' piece. Yeah. He kind of goes into that. It's now about getting the job done, and it's not going to be pretty from now on, and he goes into it being about heroism, which I'm not really into that kind of narrative, and that's a real rugby world thing,
That's hurling and rugby. Do like talking about their heroes.
Their heroes, yeah, which is a bit much for me.
He says this was a grind. That is Barnes's point. Barnes's piece is short enough, and I guess he was on commentary yesterday, so that probably took up a fair degree of his attention. But he quoted John Fogarty. You guys were there, but watching on TV, John Fogarty, the way they interview the coaches sort of during the game in the Pro 14, Fogarty had said, let's just get the job done with 15 minutes to go, and he has Barnes has taken that and built his piece around that quote and sort of said Leinster are now at the point where it's getting the job done territory. Like he said, they feel a million miles away from what they did to the Scarlets at the Aviva in the semi-final. This is going to be a totally different game, he feels as well. He shares that sense, Gary, that maybe, I don't know if they've peaked, but certainly it's now into that nitty-gritty of it's not going to be pretty.
Certainly from a medical perspective, it never ceases to amaze me as the season goes on. More and more bandages appear.
Yeah. We passed.
Andrew Porter came onto the pitch yesterday. He might as well have had his leg in a plaster cast. There was so much bandage on his right leg. The guys, I don't know how they tape themselves up, to get through this part of the season. And my worry is that then they have a couple of weeks off and then they're off down to Australia, which is no rest whatsoever. You see James Ryan yesterday once again playing, almost perfectly as you would want him to do, hitting locks that look bigger than him, that would appear bigger than him. But now he's he's a target for other people to hit him too, and you just worry that there will be attrition for everyone.
We passed just before the game started. We passed Dan Levy and Henshaw in their suits and their various bandages and crocked walks. Yeah. It's been a long season.
Well, I mean, Lauren Benezek has talked about his worry over the painkiller culture. Donnacha O'Callaghan certainly talked about it on this station a couple of years ago. I mean, you would think at this time of the season painkillers are being taken to get guys through games. It's just the reality. Obviously I couldn't name names, who knows, maybe lads just have an unbelievable pain threshold. It seems Easton Asewa's cartilage has departed one knee completely in the last while, so he really seems to be on one knee, is what all the players are saying afterwards. James Lowe said it. He was just saying Isa is kind of my hero. He literally shouldn't be able to walk and he's kind of doing his thing. But there must be a painkiller culture at this stage of the season.
Well, I would say that the non-steroidals are being passed around beforehand like Smarties, just to get them through the game. It's a it's a topic we've discussed before, the medicalisation of sport and what becomes the norm. Those guys would have been getting up this morning as I was driving around. I saw Scott Vardy driving past me, and he was driving out outside County Dublin, and I figure that he's heading towards the sea for a cold bath or something. This is what the guys have to do all the time. There's many a time I've been getting out of the sea in Sea Point the day after a Leinster match, and they're all wandering down the slip into the water to just and they don't look agile.
No.
It's 12 hours after a match, and they don't look good. And I don't know how you protect people from that, because that's what I go to the RDS to see. I go to see the big hits. I want James Ryan to floor somebody. I like when Gary Ringrose catches Simon Zebo unannounced. And yet, here I am today saying they have to be protected, and we want the big hits. You can't have it both ways.
No.
Thanks a million for watching. If you want to subscribe, well, there's the button right there. If you want to see more videos, hit that down there.